We asked for Cobble back, but instead Valve gave us 2 new castle maps. I know we all miss Cobblestone, I miss it too. I miss jumping into drop with the sawed off and just destroying some guy that has a full buy, grinding operation missions for the tiny chance of getting a dragon lore, or just watching pros scream at each other in rank S.
My age is gone!
But CS2 is a new game, and instead of being hung up on the past and thinking about what we're missing, I think we should instead look to the future and talk about these 2 new beautiful community-made maps added to the game, Jura and Grail. Both these maps were top 10 finalists in the recent mapcore Big Adventures competition. Anubis, which was the last community-made map added into the 7-map rotation for Pro CS, was the winner of another mapcore competition back in 2018. So it definitely seems possible that we could see Grail or Jura added to the game on a more permanent basis in the future. At least for now, the community seems to be enjoying Grail quite a bit more out of the 2 based on queue times, but personally I way prefer Jura and I really think it's worth giving a try. But first, I do want to talk about Grail for a moment. Grail was the winner of the mapcore competition, and in my opinion, it's the most visually distinct of any map that's been added to the game since the launch of CS2. I've heard some people compare its art style to Blizzard games, which I definitely do see, but I think the creators did a great job of weaving more realistic Counter-Strike-y areas in between some of these cartoony theme park areas. I absolutely love some of the big custom props that they created for this map. This octopus by A-Site is such an awesome, iconic part of the map. Some of the other custom assets just throughout are really great, and the lighting in some of the indoor areas looks absolutely amazing. But as nice as it is to look at, I'm really not a fan of Grail's gameplay. Many of the angles and corridors are tight and feel really awkward to peek through. A lot of the cover is kind of clunky to play around, and there are a lot of weird camping spots and just hard to clear corners that make the map feel kind of frustrating and random at times. I find the area under the bridge in middle as well as the main passageway from middle to A to be particularly hard to clear and just uncomfortable to play. Utility usage also feels very unintuitive. Even after playing the map several times, I still really don't have a good feel for what I should be smoking or mollying as a CT, or how I can flash my teammates into engagements on the T side. I want to mention now that the mapcore judges score the maps primarily off of the visuals and kind of the creative aspect, and as far as I'm aware, the judges are not actually required to playtest all the maps in full 5v5 games. The mapcore rubric prioritizes art direction and overall polish, and by that metric, Grail is definitely one of the most impressive maps we've had in the game, and it makes a lot of sense that it won. It's clear that a ton of love and attention went into every single corner and detail of this map, and while I don't necessarily love playing it, I definitely respect the creators trying such a bold art direction that's so out there for CS. Personally, I play CS because I want to play maps that have really deep, polished gameplay, and looking at these 2 maps in that lens, I find Jura to be way more fun to play. I absolutely love playing this map. Angles throughout feel really sharp and well thought out, and it's very intuitive to play around cover and isolate gunfights. Even on my first time playing the map, I did not really feel confused on where I should have been looking. The environments are very readable. You have these bright outdoor areas that contrast the player models really well, and it's always very clear where enemies can come from. Even the underground areas are very well lit in very creative and interesting ways. Light comes in through this stained glass window or these cracked open ceilings. These areas are super pretty and look really dramatic without sacrificing the gameplay at all. There are also lots of tall landmarks across the map that make lining up grenades very easy, and I'm sure that with enough time, players would be able to find a lot of interesting lineups. Jura is a pretty big map, and rounds can become very convoluted and sprawling. If I was going to compare it to some other maps that have been in the Premier rotation, I'd say it's somewhat of a mashup between Nuke and Overpass. CTs start with control over the A site, but need to contest long and middle to control rotations and gain info. The B site is located below a ramp, but if terrorists gain control over that area, they can also use it to rotate through CT spawn to get to A, kind of like Nuke. They gain a foothold across the map. Terrorists have a lot of interesting split and flank options, so it's very important for the CTs to play proactively and dynamically, play different setups every round, and to make sure to communicate and plug gaps when one player dies. Once you get a feeling for the timings, you can pull off lurks and outplays that just feel really, really satisfying.
Nice.
Jura is a very macro-heavy map that requires smart rotations and communication from both sides, which is exactly the kind of gameplay that I like. If Grail is a map that looks great but plays kind of awkwardly, I'd say Jura is the opposite. There are parts of this map that do look really nice, like the A site or the tunnels by B, and like I said before, I don't think any of the map's visuals come at the expense of gameplay. But there are several areas and assets that are visually far below the standards set by Valve maps. The buildings towards middle and A feel kind of flat and undetailed. Some of the signs and just assets around the map are disappointingly blurry and low resolution. And these wide open spaces that surround the map should feel really expansive and majestic, but they kind of wind up feeling more like an early CSGO map once you notice how low resolution and blocky some of the props are. If Jura is ever going to be added to the game on a more permanent basis, it's definitely going to need a significant overhaul to its visuals. I also have a few small issues with the gameplay. This 3-man boost outside of B feels pretty cheap. The map is also definitely in need of optimization. Frame rates on this map are pretty inconsistent and performance is well below pretty much every other map in the game. It's certainly not the best map in the game, or even really my favorite from the mapcore competition, but I do think Jura is worth taking a real look at if you're someone who enjoys CS for its competitive aspect. I assume we're going to see it cycled out of the game with the next update on July 14th when Premier Season 2 ends, so try queuing for it before then and see if it clicks for you in the way that it did for me. Regardless of whether Jura, Grail, or any other map from the mapcore competition ends up in the Premier rotation, they're still great maps and definitely worth checking out. Basically every map that was in the top 10 of the mapcore competition is fantastic, and I definitely recommend checking out some other content or just downloading the maps and taking a look at them. I personally loved Golden and Canopy from the competition. Golden is definitely my favorite out of all 10. Both maps not only play well, but have absolutely stunning visuals that really showcase what the new engine is capable of. One of the best things about CS is our unbelievably talented and dedicated mapping community. Playing community maps, especially once they're added to the game, taking them seriously and testing new layouts and ideas can only be good for the game in the long run. I'm going to link some videos below from other creators talking about the mapcore competitions, as well as some of my personal favorite maps from the competition. I really recommend watching FM Pone's videos. They're just really, really interesting to see his perspective looking at all these maps. And yeah, give Jura a try.